Today we talk about the analog gateway in practice. This is a DINSTAR training session. I think one more training already. So I think that if you are not very familiar with the analog gateway or the background of the phones, never mind, we will cover all things. We also cover the very practical the skills and let you know how to troubleshoot the analog gateway if you install or connect to SIP server or PBX. Okay. So today I will cover 6 topics here. The first topic is about general information about the analog gateway, and the second one I will cover what the analog gateway models, and third I will give you the key setting features for the analog gateway here. And part 4 I will let you know how to configure our FXO or maybe FXS to make a call. And part 5 I list out talk about some key issues when you use our analog gateway or analog device to connect the PBS and so on. So last session I will give you the training question, maybe give you the question answer. Maybe if you have any questions in terms of a technical issue or business issue, we can later talk about that. Okay. So let's talk about our first topic here. The first topic I'll give some about the phone and the history timeline here. Since I think the 140 years ago, the Bell, the call to Thomson, and they received the call. Actually, the analog call will conduct and success. Okay, this is the first time the people make a call through the analog. So after that, we go through the still for the PSTN age, and after that, still go to maybe the internet came out. Then we go to the internet. After that, we enjoy our the VoIP, go to the internet, and now we also face the 5G challenge. So far, a lot of people use the 5G, maybe do the entertainment, play the video, play the game, and so on. So you can see so far we got, I think in the world there are 3.9 billion LT users. So we are in the mobile stage already. So we can see from stage 1, after few stages by maybe some technology company and develop new product and implement in the VoIP. So we can see a lot of the funny thing nowadays. Actually, we covered a few stages here. I named just not very accurate, but it's almost here. Voice over analog. So this is the first step. We may have to speak to analog gateway, analog phones, and so on. After that, we transmit the voice over IP, and this is this stage. Okay. After that, now we are facing the real walkie or maybe the new radio network service. So it's we can see the different. Okay, and it's a very different stage in different scenario. Okay, so here we gave you the very basic or very fundamental definition for what the FXS, what FXO, and here we got the very short definition. FXS stands for foreign exchange subscriber. Okay, so please remember that. And here S stands for the subscriber. Okay, however, the FXO stands for the office. So you can see the difference first. Okay, and FXS also provide the dial tone. This is a basic feature, and the FXO is the receive dial tone. And the FX got a lot of some service, maybe connect to our analog phone and a model or fax machine. However, the FXO just receive the call from the PSTN. Okay, and here we got the very straightforward, very simple diagram to demonstrate how to use the analog gateway or maybe the connect to PSTN line or PSTN phones here. Here we can see if you have a FXS gateway, and we will, you have to connect to your RG11 interface and connect to analog phone or fax. However, if you use FXO, you also got the same RG11 interface, but you have to use our FXO gateway to connect to your company or telephone company or service provider, because you have to go through incoming call, outgoing call for this. Okay, and however, you have to make sure you understand that some people confuse that. If you use FXS, you always have to connect to your FXO. And if you use FXO, you always connect to FXS. It's always opposite. Okay, you cannot use the FXS connect to FXS, or maybe FXO connect to FXO. So it's totally wrong already. So it's opposite. Please make sure you understand that. Okay. And just now I show you the fundamental concept about the FXO FXS. Here actually, because our analog gateway is built on FXO and the SIP. Okay, SIP is something like this software-based protocol. So here we can see this. If you have FXO FS, and maybe you have to start your FXO FS driver and provide the API to the digital processor. After then digitize all the IP or RTP or protocol message that convert to SIP. Okay, and in our UI also got a lot of the other features like call forwarding, like DTMF, or maybe the call routing or debug tools and so on. So it's a very basic or very abstract definition for the FXO, FXS, and the SIP. And this one is for very generic connection. If you have maybe the FXO, FXS, then connect to your PBX. So from left side, you can see if you have maybe PSTN line, you have to connect to our FXO gateway here, and connect to FXO. After then, connect to your SIP trunk. Maybe you register to PBX or just the IP link and point to SIP trunk. However, on my right side here, we can see under the PBS, there are a lot of the extension. Under extension, maybe the extension can be a SIP server, or maybe it can be the FXS gateway. And you also can install our SIP phone to do that. Okay. And under the FXS, you can see that analog gateway. If you if you use the FX gateway, you have to use analog phone here. And if you got maybe the fax machine, you have to connect to your FXS. Okay. Of course, your extension have to register to the PBX. Just now I talk about some little bit about the foundation of the VoIP gateway in technical way. Here we got some analysis report for the business review. Okay, if you are a DINSTAR distributor or maybe the integrator, we just share with you about this information. If you want to got more about the deep market, maybe the research or market demand, you can access the our source link. Okay, here we can say that there are a lot of the requirements for the media gateway. Of course, here media gateway include the digital gateway and analog gateway, and there are different areas in different commands, and it's quite different here from North America, Europe, Asia, South America, Middle East, and Africa. So it's quite different. Of course, by the according to this report, by the 2029, there are, I think, 3.24 billions for the market requirement demand. Okay, so it's a very good opportunity, or still got a lot of the market or customer requirement on this for us. And here, right side, I list out some main or key player in the media market. And we got the audio core Raven Cisco, and also got the DINSTAR. So we are one of the key player in the market. And you can see the source here. If you're interested in that, you can check from this thing, okay? And just now we talk about the market share. Now we talk about the our customer who are using the analog gateway, how to build the system with the analog gateway. Okay. Here we list out I think the 3 sectors. Of course, I think more than that. Okay. And the first one is manufacturer. Manufacturer use our analog gateway to maybe build up the phone system, call center, and so on. Maybe the manufacturer branch office connect together, and for example, global the manufacturer company, you want to connect to your maybe the headquarters in US, maybe the branch office in Tokyo or Singapore, maybe Thailand, or even in Shenzhen. So can do that. You can use the SafeTrunk analog gateway connect to a PSTN and so on. So it's quite useful and widely used. And healthcare, and sometimes healthcare, maybe the service offered some kind of the hotline service or the medical or doctor booking system. So, and if you got maybe the hotline service, and you have to use the analog gateway to make a incoming call, outgoing call. And telecommunication, some telecommunication company or service provider also got the whole package, use our analog gateway or maybe the phone system, and combine together for the total service, total solution service. If sometimes we also may face some problem, for example, we also maybe check or track your goods you sell, or maybe the transportation industry or logistic industry offer kind of the service or call center. Maybe you call the call center, after then you give the track number and give you the feedback and so on. So the government also got some branch office or some organization and to make a phone system and call each other. So also need our analog gateway, maybe as extensions, maybe as an internal call, outgoing call interface. Okay, nowadays the banking system also used for analog gateway to build the customer call center solution, or maybe the service centers. The customer need the outgoing call, incoming call, use the PSTN or UN gateway to do that. Of course, nowadays some sector I don't mention here, for example, like education or university, college. If you like university, you've got a lot of the college, a lot of department, you have to use our analog gateway to build your phone system. It's a large phone system, maybe located in different blocks. And sometimes like a hotel. Hotel also need the hotel system or PMS system to connect to your maybe each room, or use a phone, analog phone to make incoming call, outgoing call, and so on. So there are a lot of the customer use our analog gateway, and maybe you can check later from our sales teams, got more about the information about this. And we also got a lot of the user case for that. Okay, here I list out some main product line or product models for our DINSTAR analog gateway. Actually, we cover the customer from the small and the medium, even the larger size of the company. Okay, and offer different service or different models for customers. The first model is kind of model is DAG 1000 and DAG 2000. And this is for small size and medium size the company. If you want to build like a small or so-called PBX or small PBX phone system or call center, you can use our FXO or FXS, even the hybrid models to build this phone system. And DAG And 2500 is for the FXS support for kind of the extension support for maybe you have a phone system, call centers. You want to build your agent, use the maybe FXS. Can we do that? Okay. We got a lot of the module maximum 72 ports for FXS, so this is good enough already. And last one is DAG 3000. Okay, this is the last one with a very good modular design. We offer the kind of the option here. The minimum is 32 FXS FXO, and the maximum is 128 ports FXO FXS. So it's quite flexible. You can maybe if you can offer all the kind of larger enterprise phone system, you can consider this option, this model. Okay. Of course, all our equipment or device is all support open standard, so we can support like the SIG, of course, SIG protocol is support now, and also support the IMS. Of course, sometimes you have to use IMS connect to maybe the SIG trunk and so on. IPv6, of course, yes, and auto provisioning, we do that. TR069 is for management, conference call, and the fax. If you got the SIG over the security for security reason, you also can add the TLS or SRTP. So this is 3 models to cover all the kind of the customer requirement. Okay, and just now I mentioned about the fundamental, the concept of FXO, FXS, and also mentioned about the business issues or business terms. And here I list out some selling points or selling features if you are our integrator end user or our distributor partner or partners. Okay, and then please consider our value or customer standing points here. The first one is OEM support, and sometimes our system, sometimes our customers want to build own solutions, total solution, or with own brand, so we can offer the OEM support. If you want to OEM, you can consult our sales teams or other teams members. We got a lot of detail about OEM. Of course, we also support the 128 FX ports. Here is maximum for FXS. Okay, I think in our sector or in only the few vendors can support that. Is also a very good selling point. With one appliance or maybe device can support up to 128 FXS already. So you don't need to implement many external gateway, many devices, many IP. Is very troublesome for that. Okay, and we also support the realized maximum is 5 to 8 kilometers. So it is quite useful features for some customer who are maybe implementing different situation or different environment. Some environment, like if you are hard, if you're difficult to implement your IP or cannot, some place cannot allow the maybe install some physical servers and so on. So there is no IP connection. If no IP connection, how to do that? You have to use a physical cable connect. Okay. So if you have FXS want to connect in very long distance, maybe you can consider our analog gateway here, because we support the 5 to 8 kilometers for maximum. So it's very good. And with this feature, we still can ensure that our core quality is quite stable. Okay. And we also, because our, we also, just now I mentioned that our DAG 3000 already. And this is designed by the very scalable is in modular design. So if your customer want to maybe buy some initial model or small model first, then after that you want to extend your ability, or you want to extend your maybe the interface, you want to extend maybe the extension numbers, you also buy the child board, by other board, and the plugin. That's all. You can improve the add your more modules already. Of course, we also offer the very strong competitive price, because this one, because we got a lot of the very strong and a lot of the experience, R&D experience. We got a lot of the R&D developer or programmer or the hardware or software design, and of course we have ability to control the price, and can give you a very good price for the analog gateway. Okay. Besides that, of course, we also offer some very good professional support. Some vendors, if you want to get the support, you have to buy the service, okay, pay the money for the support service. But DINSTAR offer the support service very quickly, and give you very good support or professional support with free. Okay. So please consider that, and we are very confident about our selling points. Just now I mentioned about our PBN, our gateways, but we also all the designed by the open standard. So we support the more PBX or SIP servers. Here, just some brands in the market is a big comp. I think it's a very big one for PBX. Solution, Total Solution, and practically is the other one from Europe. It's quite good SIP server, and White-Hat PBS is also very new but very strong, very good product. 3CX is also, we support that, and we also support the free PBS. Is the open source for PBS, quite popular in the market. And we also support the DINSTAR PBS. If you got the DINSTAR PBS, you want to connect more FXS, FXO, or maybe extensions with our analog gateway, no problem at all. And we also support Grand Straight PBS. Of course, if you are free space, maybe or asterisk open source users, it's up to you. We opened all the connection already. We can connect to your PBS, your free space or asterisk-based solution with a SIP trunk or registration and so on. So before I continue, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, please leave the message in the chat box. And our technical guy, Sunny Tan, will give you the answer immediately. Okay. Please leave the message in chat box, in the pin box, and we'll give you the answer. Okay, if you don't have any questions, I will continue to the technical part. The first one is FXO. So if you want to configure our FXO, I think the FXO is just now we mentioned already. FXO is for the connect to PSTN line. Okay, connect to your service provider. If you use the FXO, you have to. There are two ways. I think the one is for registration model. If you want to register your FXO gateway to PBS, it's okay, no problem. And sometimes for the customer, maybe your analog gateway, your SIP servers in the same LAN and trust each other, so you don't need to register to the SIP server. Just the point to use the IP trunk point to the remote site or SIP server or PBS. So here we can see that you just filling your IP and port number. That's all. You create the IP trunk first. After that, if you use our analog gateway, maybe the FXO gateway, you have to support one is the incoming call, other one is outgoing call. So you have to configure the both directions. Okay. The first one is from IP to tail. Actually, the from IP means in the other words, maybe in simple one is from your PBX, okay, to tail means the telephone or FXO. Okay. So from the actually here the work call path is like you make the incoming outgoing call by the extension. After that go to the PBX. Then PBX go to the tail or FXO interface. So it's for outgoing call setup. Okay. So you can see the IP to tail from our GUI indicate from IP to tail. You select the port, which port you want to use to make outgoing call, and maybe the which source you come from. So you can select in both sides. And the last one is for the tail to IP, means like outside people making incoming call, for example, hotline service. Outside customer want to call you or call the service number. After then, our FXO will forward to PBX. So you have to configure that for incoming call, outgoing call. This is all the key steps here. Maybe you can check later from your GUI from our gateway. If you still got maybe the questions or more, maybe the details, you can maybe always email us or email our technical guys. Okay. Let's talk about the FXS. Here we got the normally not our FXS used as the extension for the PBX. Okay, so please make sure you have to understand the positioning in the panel. And here we use the hybrid model for FXO, for FXS here. And first for port for FXS in our GUI, we can see that port data, and we can see the first 4 ports is for FXS, and the last 4 ports for FXO. So you have to make sure which port or which FX port or account you use. Okay, don't be confused that you have to check the data first. After then, you of course you have to end your SIP server. And your SIP server, then select the port. For example, here I use port 0. Port 0 means in our analog gateway is actually the first port. Okay, but here the name is port 0. Port 0 maybe can work as another extension. So you have to enter your SIP account, maybe a SIP extension account. Please make sure understand that. Okay, this all kind of information is from your SIP server side or PBX side. In your PBX side, you have to create the account first, SIP extension account first. After create the account information, then you enter it here. After that, then add all the kind of information, then click registration and so on. Then the save the information. Maybe after that, now FXS will automatically register to your SIP server or PBX. So it's quite easy and very clear for the step you can take. Okay. Okay, just now I covered the FXO, FS, the configuration, and in very straightforward steps. And nowadays, then if you use analog gateway or some analog device, they have a lot of the issue, a lot of the maybe the problem faced, because the analog technology or PSTN technologies or device have to develop 5 years already. There's all traditional PSTN gateway or device there, and phone system is there already. And if you maybe sometimes you use our analog gateway to connect your maybe remote side with traditional device, maybe in different environment, different caller ID format, or maybe the different parameters, you always got some issues. Okay, but don't worry about that. Our DINSTAR gateway got a lot of the features to can support you and help you to detect the problem, check the issues, and set up the okay. And here I list out the A issues here, and then most maybe we face the problem in the 5 years. And the first one is no caller ID. I think sometimes customer confuse that. For example, if you subscribe the service, PSTN service, and then the customer, when you subscribe service, customer maybe got the caller ID or not. Sometimes not. Okay, so please understand that. And if you make an incoming call, can ring up, but maybe service support does not send you the caller ID. Maybe because you don't subscribe or you don't pay the money for caller ID service. It's quite depends. Some country you have to pay the money for caller ID. Okay, if you don't pay the money, there is no caller ID for incoming call. The customer service provider does not give you the caller ID display. So you have to check with the service provider, okay, and make sure you subscribe to caller ID and pay the money for that. Money first, okay, and you also can check from the our GUI. Make sure your caller ID detection is on already. I mean, to go to a GUI, check enable that. That's all. And after that, you also have to set up the caller ID support. This is because there are a lot of the format are a lot of different in different countries. If you don't set the caller ID, this may be the your country or location or service provider, then maybe your caller ID cannot display it, okay, or cannot support very well. So please make sure you check with the service provider. After that, you enable the support from our GUI. Of course, all steps done already, but sometimes you still cannot got the caller ID. Means like, for example, you gave a send caller ID to an PBS already, but because your PBS got the wrong configuration or misconfigurations, and your PBS cannot get the caller ID. Even get caller ID, cannot send the caller ID to your cell phone or extensions. So your extension or your cell phone, maybe your cell phone cannot send caller ID. So it's quite possible. So also we suggest you to also debug your PBS. Make sure our caller ID is sent to PBS already, and you also debug your PBS and set properly for the caller ID support in your PBS side. Echo problem. We also sometimes face an echo issue. Sometimes due to some reason, a network issue or connection issue or maybe the volume issue, your connection maybe sometimes your physical connection is not well. So you have to check that. Make sure the physical connection is very good. And sometimes in remote side, your echo problems come up from a remote side. Maybe remote side make recording some other sounds around the caller. Maybe the song will pass to the phone. Okay, and after that, you also can enable our option parameter here, echo cancellation. Okay, you go to the service parameter from GUI advanced. After advanced, and go to the service parameter. We got an echo cancellation option here. You can open that for the echo cancellation detection, and can be. I think your echo will be reduced. Of course, sometimes due to some reason you have to adjust your RX scan or TX scan. RX scan, TX scan here is in charge of the voice volume. RX means R means like here receive. T means transfer. Okay. When you come in the songs, voice volume is very low, means very receive, maybe very low, or maybe remote side here very low, maybe the TX or very low. So you can check this and make sure you're set properly, and don't be set too high or too low. Okay. And here we got the hang-up problem. Sometimes we also face some problem, hang-up problem. This is quite common already in the FXO or PBX. And if you go to we also offer such option we can detect the hang-up or busy detect tone. Of course, I here mention about more about the busy tone, because our VoIP gateway, implement in anywhere, some country, then the busy tone is quite different. So there are a lot of the format you have to check and make sure set properly. For example, if you use the maybe support in China, support in US or in UK or other countries, even India, is quite different. So it's a ITU standard protocol. So you have to check, make sure our busy tone is detected by the set and set by the service provider. So make sure you also check the busy tone detection. Here we got the option, also service parameter. On the service parameter, we list out all the support here already. And here we also got the RTP detection. Sometimes if your FXO cannot help, but there is no voice or RTP traffic already. So DINSTAR analog gateway offer the RTP detection mechanism. So if you enable that, then our gateway will detect your RTP stream. If it's not RTP, means like the call maybe the hang up already, or nobody over the line. So your system will automatically hang up your FXO, FXS, okay? And beside that, we offer the FXO tools. It's quite intelligent tool for the learning process. We offer the busy tone learning mechanism or algorithm to detect the busy tone. But of course, you have to make sure you understand the how to use the tone, how to use the tools. Okay. Later, maybe Sunny Tan will give you the more detail about the FXO tools and documentation. If you are interested in that, we will send you the URL or document for that. You can check by yourself. And sometimes, because we use the FXS or FXO, you have to maybe register to your PBX. So especially for FXS, you must register to the PBX. If you register to PBX, a few things maybe you have to check here. Of course, the first one, you have to make sure your gateway, maybe your gateway IP have to maybe the reachable is reachable for the SIP server side. Okay, and can ping each other. Make sure it is accessible and reachable. Okay, and sometimes you also some customer not very careful to input the username and password. Maybe enter the wrong username and password. Of course, sometimes for some reason I think the PBX maybe change the port number, the same port number. So you also have to check, make sure the port number entered according your PBX site setting up. Okay. And I think that for security reason, some PBX and blacklist and maybe the firewall and so on. Sometimes if your FXS maybe put the wrong information and register too many times, within maybe 15 minutes or say half hour, 5 times already. Maybe from PBX side, you consider as your IP is not legal or not secure. So maybe consider as an illegal IP. So maybe your IP will be added to the blacklist of the IPv6 or blocked IP. So your gateway cannot register to that. So you have to remove your IP from the blacklist, maybe and the whitelist or the unblocked IP. So have to check that. And number 5 is low voice volume. Here, sometimes the customer also face this problem. We can hear the call, but the voice is not, the volume is not low, not very high, and you have to check both sides. First of all, you have to try maybe remote side is low, RX or TX scan. The setup is very low, or if you have to check that. Of course, you also can check our analog gateway. maybe the FXO or FXS, we can adjust the RX or TX value here to make sure they can support them properly. Of course, I have to give you some notice, okay? Sometimes you cannot set the RX or TX too high or too low. That will cause another, maybe the voice call problem. So please make sure check properly, and after setup, you have to test first, okay? Nowadays, the people still using, some people, I think, some user or some company business still use the fax machine, okay? Maybe still have to use a fax machine to fax some documentation or contract and so on. So, and sometimes, you know, if you use the fax, then maybe the fax result is not very good, support not very well. Of course, here I've got I think the only 3 factors have to check. Of course, the first one is tone detection. Make sure you set up the fax tone detection properly, and you detect the fax tone. And sometimes we have to select a different fax model. If you just pass through or just use the fax models, default model, other models, okay. And sometimes, you know, because the fax transmission got a different rate already, so you have to check, make sure you set up the proper transmitting rate, okay. Number 5 is a call quality issue. Call quality is quite common in the VoIP industry, even the 5G or 4G or 5G mobile call. So call quality issues, I think the main reason is because of network congestion. And here, not if you have, for example, I think if your network maybe can support maybe 10 VoIP call, but I think over maybe you got 15 or more than 15 call coming, maybe or other network use the bandwidth, so maybe your bandwidth is not sufficient. So when you make a call, maybe you also face network congestion. Network congestion will be result some issues. For example, JIT buffer, okay, then maybe package loss, also possible, and even the latency. So it's all kind of the factor will result in call quality issues. So you have to check one by one. Of course, you make sure you have very sufficient network bandwidth, okay. And sometimes we also have to enable our options from GUI. Here we got some parameters you can set up from GUI, and detect the AD detection, then maybe you can improve your call quality. Of course, sometimes we also have to check the codecs, because nowadays a lot of the codecs we can support over the IP. So for the different environment, different network, you have to maybe use other codecs to do that. After testing, maybe your quality maybe will improve. You will get the very good call quality. Okay. Here, number 8, how to debug all call trace. I think this is not a real problem, but I give you some help, or maybe give you some suggestion if you face some issue with analog gateway. And here, besides our DINSTAR analog gateway offered, I think, quite intelligent tools already, in terms of outbound testing, FXO testing, ping testing, all network captures. They can capture all the related information in terms like FXO, FXS, maybe SIP log or port for RTP. So please make sure you understand all the tools. You can maybe check together and try that. If you got any issue, you always can. First, you have to check from the tools. After maybe download the logs and send to our support. Our support will basically what you are captured from system. It give you the very sufficient support for that. Of course, if you are advanced user or expert, maybe install somewhere, maybe install our system in the Linux space. They also got some third-party tools, debug tools for that. VirusSuck is first one. I think everyone should know already. And SNGRP is Linux tools can capture the SIP flaw, SIP information in the diagram way. And NGRP, TCP dump, IGgram, all the open source tools already. You can consider that and try for the systems, especially for our maybe the UC 8000 is you can capture it for that and quite easy install it. And some user, I think most of the people nowadays use the F3 kind of three space to develop the system call center or PBN and so on. So you also can, besides use our analog gateway tools, and you also can debug from the system in deep. Okay, there are maybe F3 CLI command. You can open that like a PG chip setup longer on. There will be display all the SIP stacks. Of course, if you use the free space, you also can use the free space CLI command like Sophia, profile internal SIP trace on or SIP profile external trace on. So we can capture all the flow from the SIP side, from server side, and from the our gateway side. Okay, I think it will be enough to debug your problem or solve your issue. Okay, that's all my topic about the analog gateway in practice. I think hopefully we can give you the overall introduction and give some more tips for troubleshooting and problem solving.